Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal for this week's episode of Inside Arsenal Extra Time with James Benge of CBS Sports. James, how you doing, my friend? You're good?
I'm really well, yeah. Thanks for having me back on. It's been a while.
Has been a while.
Can I start with a shout out? Not
Yeah.
just to the people that fixed your internet, but also to the steward I met at, it's not Griffin Park anymore, the GTEC Community Stadium last week, who said he was a fan of the pod. Thank you very much. More people who watch this, please stop me in the streets and tell me, ideally, how much you just enjoy my written work or my appearances on CBS, but failing that, how much you enjoy the podcast and how you think my chemistry with Charles is so excellent, because it's really not true in real life, but it's good to know we can pretend.
Excellent. So you had a good day there. You got someone stopping you saying he enjoys your work, and then you saw Brentford beat Manchester United 3-1. That was a fun day.
Grand day out.
You know what I did on Saturday?
What did you do?
I went to Oasis at Wembley.
Oh, of course you did.
And
that must have been a very good day.
Unbelievably good. I watched Brentford beat Manchester United in the pub beforehand, and then went to Wembley and had the time of my life, mate, for a few hours. Richard Ashcroft, brilliant, basically doing urban hymns as a warm-up, and then Oasis. You know, when you have something in your head for a long, long time and you really hope it's going to be good, but there's always that fear of, oh no, is the reality not going to match the expectation?
And you've had everyone telling you how great it is as well.
I did, yes. Like Simon Collins, who went to one of the earlier shows, was just like, it was so good, mate. It's so good. You're going to absolutely love it. And everyone else who I spoke to who had been to the earlier shows said exactly the same thing. And I was just like, oh, don't rain. Please don't rain. Please don't be bad. Don't be rubbish. But it was absolutely brilliant, mate. It was so, so good. It was a brilliant weekend, because then Gabriel goes and pops up and scores last-minute winner at Newcastle 24 hours later. So it was a very, very good weekend indeed.
Beautiful weekend. I'm hoping I have much the same transcendent experience when I'm at Radiohead next month. Twice. So anyone that watched this and tried to get tickets to London and didn't,
Twice in a row? What, twice in 2 days, is that?
Twice in 2 nights. It was because it's all a bit like, like getting Oasis. It's chaotic getting the tickets. So my wife has ended up going to see them twice as well. Once with their family, and then once with my mates. And she doesn't really like Radiohead, but she's stuffed.
Where's that? Where are you doing that? O2?
It's at the O2. Yeah.
God, 2 trips to the O2 in 24 hours, mate. That's not fun, but I'm sure the concert will be good. Anyway, I'm sure the concert will be good. So yes, it's been a good week Arsenal-wise. Obviously, we spoke briefly there. Gabriel nodding in that last-minute winner at St James's Park, and then we were both there in the press box in midweek to see Arsenal make it 2 wins from 2 in the Champions League. No point going over that too much, but it was a routine win, wasn't it? I mean, maybe a little bit more edgy than it should have been. A classic case of Arsenal not putting a game to bed when they should have done, but four goals, 2 clean sheets, and 6 points from 6 in the Champions League. It's been a decent start.
Yeah, just above Qarabag in the league table as well. I really enjoyed the game beyond the tension, because we won't talk about this too much, but one thing I was really struck by was how quickly Arsenal were getting the ball upfield. And I think that's like one of these trends I just want to keep an eye on, especially now that Ødegaard's back and Gyökeres is really starting to settle in. I think we're going to see Arsenal play some very quick, very aggressive football, potentially, especially this weekend against the Nuno team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that as well, especially the first half. I thought Arsenal played really well in the first half. I enjoyed the game. A lot of people were in the comments afterwards going, oh, it's boring. I thought, I don't get that. I like Port Vale, for example, that was a pretty boring game. It wasn't fun to watch, was it? But I didn't get that from the Champions League game midweek. I thought it was quite a fun game. I thought Arsenal played very well first half. I thought Olympiacos played pretty well in the second half, and it made for a pretty entertaining game that felt like it was on a knife edge for a little bit. So I didn't get any of the comments sort of saying it was a boring game. But yeah, I enjoyed the speed of which Arsenal attacked in that first half when they were playing very, very well and could easily have been a couple of goals up. And it'll be interesting to see if that is something with Ødegaard back in the team now. We're going to see more and more. Hopefully it is, because it was fun to watch. So we're going to talk about the West Ham game, obviously tomorrow. I was going to say this coming weekend, but it is tomorrow now, the West Ham game. We are recording this a little bit later than we usually do in the week. And so we'll talk about that. We'll look at what Mikel's just been saying in his press conference as well. Got a few questions, comments. We'll go over the England squad, 4 Arsenal players in the England squad that Thomas Tuchel was just named, including Myles Lewis-Skelly, and some interesting comments from Tuchel on Myles Lewis-Skelly and his place in the squad. So quickly, let me bring this up. Mikel's been speaking about Hincapie in the press conference today. Not going to make it for tomorrow, but sounds pretty positive in terms of after the international break. Mikel saying that he will Let me actually just bring the whole quote up here on Hincapie. Says, we've been trying to do everything as fast as possible to get him fit, but this game has come too fast. Now we have an international break, so hopefully after that, he will have a couple of sessions with the team and be ready to go. He also spoke about Gabriel, just said we have to wait and see until after today's session, but reiterated that they're not too concerned about him. So I would imagine Gabriel's certainly going to start, which is good because I brought him into my FPL team this weekend when with West Ham's record.
Oh, well, I've always had Gabriel. He's
Yeah,
the lock.
Well, I've brought 3 Arsenal players in this weekend. 3. And you know my rule, I don't normally have Arsenal players in. And I've totally blown that rule to smithereens this weekend by now bringing in on my wild card Gabriel, Gyökeres, and Saka.
Oh, we share the same Arsenal player. I have a very different rule. As you know, I'm an objective journalist, but I always have to have 3 Arsenal players in, and I will not have any Tottenham players in my fantasy team.
See, I have that rule about Tottenham, but I actually last weekend brought in 2 Tottenham players because I had 2 transfers, and I was like, they're home to Wolves. I hate to do this. I knew it was only going to be for 1 week only. And I was like, I hate doing this, but I'm going to bring in Richarlison and Van de Ven because I think Richarlison will score and I think Tottenham will keep a clean sheet. And it was 1-1. Both of them blanked completely. But I didn't care because it meant that Tottenham dropped points at home to Wolves. So I'm taking credit for Spurs dropping points. But yeah, this weekend, certainly set pieces wise with West Ham, it feels like a potential weekend for Gabriel to add to the goal he scored last week at Newcastle. But good kind of news on Hincapie because it's been a shame we just haven't seen him at all since he's come in. I know you were very excited about the signing and the fact we saw him briefly in that game at Athletic Club, but aside from that, he's just not been involved. And as well as it just being a shame, it's a kind of a blow to the squad as well because we just don't have that left-sided centre-back option at the moment with that he would bring to be able to rotate and rest Gabriel at times.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Almost the sort of challenge of having all the depth that you have is that you kind of want to use all your players in the right position. So kind of unless it's forced upon you, you don't want to be playing Mosquera out on the left side of defence or even really like sort of jamming Calafiori in there unless you absolutely have to because you've got these 2 good options. And I think it will be really sort of beneficial. I think the advantage of all this is how many games over the last month would Arsenal have been giving Hincapie really big and somewhat challenging minutes in. So maybe he would have played against Olympiacos. That would be the one. Because I know, in the presser, Arteta was sort of saying it wasn't just about when Raya collided with him and there was something he was feeling in the first half.
Yeah.
But, Hincapie wouldn't have played realistically at St. James's Park against Man City. So now he doesn't go away with Ecuador, who I know are playing in the US. And I don't remember where their other game is, but they're sort of big travel, but not big stake. So you don't feel like you're robbing him of anything. 2 weeks of sort of mini preseason, really. And then you can hit the ground running and you can play him against Fulham, against who's coming up after the international break? Fulham, Atletico Madrid. You can play.
Yes. And
probably not Crystal Palace, best team in the world.
Yes, Crystal Palace, of course. It is Crystal Palace after Fulham, yeah.
Got to be carefully planning out your training and your player minutes to make sure you've got a fully fit squad to take on the last remaining undefeated team.
It's a shame you didn't give a 50 quid bet with me this season on Crystal Palace finishing in top 4 because I'd be very worried right now. They've had a hell of a start. Brilliant for them last weekend. Eddie Nketiah. Go on, Eddie.
Give him a medal.
In the 96th minute. So no Hincapie today against West Ham. But other than that and the long-term absentees, it looks like everyone else who is available in midweek will be available. So when you're sort of looking at the team selection, you obviously made big changes in midweek for the Champions League. We saw him change the fullbacks. He left Declan Rice on the bench. He left Bukayo Saka on the bench. We did see him come on in the second half. Pretty much you'd think everyone who's left on the bench for that game is going to come back in, really, aren't we? So we're going to see the fullbacks, Calafiori and Jurrien Timber, who we'll talk about a little bit later on the show, and his potential new contract talks being opened, according to Sammy Motbell today. So those 2 coming back in. I mean, Declan Rice is going to come back in, isn't he? You think Bukayo Saka is going to start? It feels like quite an easy one to predict the starting 11, although he has started to make a couple of surprise choices when it comes to starting 11s. Like one player seems to get a bit of a rest that you're not expecting. Like against Nottingham Forest, it was Declan Rice, wasn't it? And then last week against Newcastle, William Saliba was suddenly left out, probably because his ankle was still a bit sore.
Yeah.
And Mosquera came in. But he is starting to do these for big players, like maybe making a change that we're not expecting when it comes to starting lineups at times.
And I hope this is almost one of those things where in our head, I think we already probably know what we think the Arsenal 11 for this season is. And then sort of come the end of the season, in an ideal world, it would always be that, that stat about the Invincibles and the Invincibles 11 played together for the first time that season in, I think, February.
Yeah.
Everyone who's watching this ought to know what the Invincibles 11 is. And it played about 3 games together that season. Same with like that Leicester team. I wonder if Zubimendi might be the guy to, especially if Gabriel were fit. Would you kind of look at this game and say, I'm going to put Rice at the pivot, or maybe even Norgard at the pivot, and go a bit more aggressive in the front half of the team?
Do you think realistically that he will do that? Because I think that's a nice thing for us to talk about and for fans to hope we're going to see. But I struggle to see Mikel Arteta doing that, like just playing one of them and having, say, Odegaard and Eze next to each other, and then Martinelli on the left. It's that lovely 11 for sort of us to look at in paper and fans to talk about. But do you realistically see Mikel doing that, even in these sort of home games against low block teams? I'm not sure he will.
I think if he's not in a game like this, it may end up being a fairly forlorn hope. Wouldn't it? There might be a game where it's foisted upon him.
I think in game it's definitely an option, but I'd be surprised for a starting 11.
Yeah, so I'm intrigued to see that. I mean, I really would like to see the 4 of Eze, Gyökeres, Odegaard, and Saka. Kind of like, however, I mean, I almost think you have to play Rice against West Ham, don't you? It's a game that will mean a lot to him, and it's a game he's played quite well in generally.
In fact, he was on the bench midweek. I think Rice definitely starts, doesn't he?
Yeah, so he just hasn't. I think Zubimendi is leading the entire squad in minutes. I would need to double check that, and I'm double checking that as I say it.
It wouldn't surprise me.
He is at the moment. I've just got Premier League, and he's played all bar 9 minutes in the Premier League. If I put in Champions League and League Cup,
he played the full game midweek, didn't he, as well? I think.
Yeah. So actually, it's Gabby, unsurprisingly, leading the team in minutes. Then Raya, then Zubimendi on 711. So you have 3 guys at around the 720 mark, and then a really big drop down to Gyökeres of all people. Another one that I think in different circumstances you might be thinking about giving him a break. I think with him, his breaks are just going to come in the final half hour of a game that's already won, especially while Havertz is still months out. But yeah, I mean, I half wonder about Zubimendi, but if I were in Arteta's position, Arsenal wouldn't be as good. But I would be playing my strongest 11 for this game. I think really go into the international break on a high. Make sure that you're coming into a more manageable set of fixtures with everyone going, ooh, Arsenal look good, don't they?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And remember, this is the West Ham team that have won the last couple of games at the Emirates. So they are going to have that kind of muscle memory of feeling pretty good about a trip to North London. Mikel was asked about them in the press. Just read a couple of quotes. He says, on facing West Ham, he said, we want to continue to play and flow and dominate the games in the manner that we are doing. This is going to be a key fixture. Obviously, we learned in the last 2 seasons as well, because we had 2 defeats against them here. It's something we need to put right, and tomorrow is an opportunity to do that. On that recent home record against West Ham, he said, that's the difficulty. The Premier League and the game that we're going to have to play tomorrow as well. New manager. We know Nuno really well. The way he sets the team up, we expect a really tough match, and we're going to demand, again, 3 days later to come back and have the same performance to win the game. So yeah, West Ham obviously played Wednesday night. Arsenal played on Wednesday. West Ham played on Monday. Arsenal played on Wednesday. So West Ham have certainly had more time to prepare for this game than Arsenal. It's weird that, isn't it? The last 2 home games against West Ham, considering that Arsenal have beaten them 6-0 and 5-2 or whatever it was in the 2 away games, but lost without even scoring a goal in the last 2 home games. It's really, really odd. 300 matches for Arteta as manager this weekend.
Flies by. I mean, I can generally remember sitting in the Costa opposite Holloway Road only to be told that Arteta wasn't going to be announced for several more hours, and his press conference wasn't going to be until late that night. Just thinking what is going on with this club. Feels like a very different club since then. And I think it's going to be quite a special day for his 300th. I think he'll.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I'm doing this on the cuff now.
Yeah,
I'm doing this off the cuff. Name the starting 11 against Bournemouth for Arteta's first for match number 1 on Boxing Day 2019. Name the starting 11. I'm putting you on the spot. I would have never been able to even get close.
Bernd Leno.
Yes.
Socrates.
Yes.
Mustafi.
No.
It's David Luiz.
It was David Luiz and Socrates were the two centre backs. Left back
So Bukayo Saka's at left back.
he
Is
was.
the right back going to be? Was Hector fit then? Hector Bellerin?
No, he wasn't. I don't know if he was on the bench, but he wasn't.
Maitland-Niles?
Yeah, it was Ainsley.
Ceballos?
No.
Xhaka?
Yeah. And a certain Uruguayan midfielder who plays for Galatasaray.
Because that was a guy that Arteta did not rate. Lucas Torreira?
Yeah.
Reece Nelson?
Yeah, Reece Scott. I remember that. Reece Scott started, didn't he, that game?
Mesut Ozil?
Yeah.
Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang?
Yeah.
Laka?
Yeah, that's it. I'll tell you what, you've done pretty well there.
Oh, all right there.
I would have really struggled on that, I think.
Boxing Day, wasn't it? It was horrible weather.
It was Boxing Day. I was at Centre Parks.
I don't think I've ever seen like that whole game back, which is, quite worrying considering the job I do.
So yeah, 300 up for Mikel Arteta this week, and fingers crossed it's good. What was Arteta? What was our Arsenal's one at Chelsea when we conceded 6? That thousandth it was, wasn't it? That was
the further and further we go, the less I'd be surprised if Mikel hits 1,000.
He was asked about that in the presser, wasn't he?
He
joked about it. He's like, on reaching over 1,000 matches in the future, he just said, he says this all the time, the target is Sunday and then other things will come. When I started on day one, I had no clue for how long I was going to be here sitting in this chair. The only thing I can say is thank you. I enjoy every minute and for many more minutes to come, hopefully. So that's what he had.
And he was reminiscing about Bukayo playing at left back.
At left back, he was. Indeed. What a 6 years it's been for Bukayo Saka. So, right, Jurrien Timber. He spoke about Jurrien Timber in the presser. As I said, that Sammy wrote a story on BBC today, Sammy Mockbell, saying that Arsenal are now opening talks with Jurrien Timber about a new contract. Those talks are at an early stage, but that all parties are kind of aligned in wanting to get this deal done, which makes perfect sense from an Arsenal point of view and from a Timber point of view as well. Mikel was asked about it in the presser. He didn't really sort of confirm what was going on, but Simon at the Standard asked him about whether this was sort of reward for a player who is obviously playing and performing at the highest level. And Mikel was like, yes, absolutely, and talked in very glowing terms about Timber and the job he's been doing at Arsenal, especially after coming back from the injury. He was then asked about if he is one of the most underrated players in the Premier League. Mikel said, I don't know, but I rate him a lot. And that got me thinking, underrated players in the Premier League. Off the top of I'll tell you who my most underrated player of all time in the Premier League is Ray Parlour. Will always be. If outside of Arsenal, is just not viewed particularly as a amazing, brilliant.
To an extent, that might be Ray's own fault.
It might well be, but it's remarkable. He's still, to this day, no one has played more Premier League games for Arsenal than Ray Parlour, 333.
And how many of them was he drunk in?
Maybe so. Exactly, which makes his performances even better. I mean, he was the ultimate big game player, was Ray Parlour. In any big game, finals, no matter the game, where it was, he would produce the best performances in the big games. So his performance in the FA Cup final 1998 at Wembley against Newcastle, still one of the best individual performances I've ever seen from a player.
And that season that followed it as well. Like, I mean, people forget when Sven sort of took over England as well, like Ray Parlour was like really in the mix with David Beckham to start. Those seasons after, he was scoring a lot of big goals. And then kind of as these legs went, he became like the perfect Arsene Wenger central midfielder. I adore the guy.
Yeah,
really. Yeah. He's the sort of true, Lee Carsley became so often labeled underrated that he became overrated. Like Ray Parlour is the actual truly underrated great of that sort of late 90s, early noughties Premier League. Can I give you a modern one? Yeah. I'll be intrigued to see what you think of this. I think Dwight McNeil is still really underrated.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's probably a little bit underrated. He's a good player, Dwight McNeil. Brilliant left foot on him. I don't know. I don't know if he's that underrated.
Maybe with Dwight McNeil, it's just that people don't really think about Dwight McNeil. Sorry if you're watching. He would be my modern sort of like, actually, look at the end of every season and he's got 7 or 8 assists, 4 goals, puts a lot of good crosses in. I'm a big Dwight McNeil fan. Him,
You know,
Iwobi, they're two of my favourites.
Iwobi, yeah, I think Iwobi. A lot of people sleep on just how good Alex Iwobi is. Mikalenko at Everton as well. I think is a really, really good fullback. Whenever I watch him play, I very rarely see Bukayo Saka struggle against a fullback as much as he does at times against Mikalenko. I think he's very, very good.
That is a really good shout, actually.
Right.
I would put him right near the top.
Yeah. Do you think Timber's underrated by people outside of Arsenal? Everyone at Arsenal knows how good he is, but do you think sort of the general view in football is that they don't realise just how good this guy is?
Oh yeah. It's still to come, isn't it? I think if you were doing sort of if you asked me to reel off the best right backs in the world, I would obviously have Hakimi one, and then I would probably land on Jurrien Timber. And Trent is so sort of unique, and Trent and Carvajal and maybe Koundé, but Timber's in that conversation. He's just he's the second best. I would say he's the second best right back in the world, because you just can't get past him defensively. And then I think in attack, his qualities are a little bit underrated, even if there's still room to grow.
And they are growing though as well, aren't they? He is getting better. He's definitely getting better. He doesn't quite have that sort of telepathy that Ben White had down that right-hand side with Saka and Martin Odegaard, but he's becoming much more of a threat down the right-hand side, I think, and from set pieces as well.
While we were talking about this, I sort of dug out when I spoke to Bukayo. This is only a year ago, so Timber has just come back from his ACL. It's almost exactly a year ago. I spoke to Bukayo and asked him about Timber, and just talking about like how much confidence someone like Saka has that he can be more aggressive, more attacking, because he knows that Jurrien Timber doesn't need his help. Jurrien Timber can hold it down against any winger. This is like right after the PSG League phase game, when admittedly they didn't have Kvara, but he just shut Bradley Barcola entirely out of the game. And I think what we sort of don't appreciate and can't really understand is how much someone like Saka can just stand 5-10 yards further away when the other team have the ball, and he can just sort of gamble a little bit more. And I think having one of the best one-on-one defenders in the Premier League just makes it so much more plausible that Saka can play high and do more of the Salah thing.
He's phenomenally good defensively. Like I said, one-on-one situations, he is outstanding. He really, really is. I mean, the fact even if Ben White gets fully fit now, I don't see Ben White pushing Timber out this team. If Timber's fit as well, and it's a straight shootout between the two of them, say it's a Champions League final tomorrow, and they're both at 100% fitness, I think Timber starts, doesn't he? And that's saying something, because Ben White is still an absolutely fantastic right back who gives this Arsenal team so much. But I still think if they're both 100% fit tomorrow in the biggest of games, you're going Timber over White.
And it's almost sort of spoiling the Ben White comeback and his recovery. Is you can't get, he looked shaky, didn't he, against Olympiacos, against a good winger, and you just think, well, when will Arsenal have this run of games where they can just go, oh, don't worry about Jurrien, we'll just play Ben White, to let him play himself back into form? Because why would you just not play one of the best right backs in the game? It's going to make it harder for Ben White. I mean, I still would have a huge amount of faith and would want to give him a lot more time, but the standard that Jurrien is setting is so high also that he just cannot afford to not perform in any game.
No, but I think we'll start seeing Ben White come on for half an hour in games to give Jurrien a rest plenty now after the international break, if he does, touch wood, stay fit, Ben, because that's been the big issue with him. Obviously, so in Ben White, if he was fit, maybe he would have been in the England squad. The England squad has been announced now by Thomas Tuchel. We've got 4 Arsenal players in there, including Myles Lewis-Skelly. Obviously, Saka returns for the first. Is this the first Tuchel squad that he'd been in? Saka, I think it probably is, isn't it?
One? Was he in the summer squad?
I don't think so. I don't think he got called up, did he? I think he'd just come back from.
He'd just come back from injury.
I can't remember. Maybe he's been one. Maybe he's been one.
Certainly a very, very limited number of games.
Yeah, but we've got Eze, obviously, is there, and Declan Rice, and Myles Lewis-Skelly as well. And he said some quite interesting stuff about Myles Lewis-Skelly. And he was asked, is his lack of minutes going to become a problem for him? And he said maybe it becomes a problem, yes, to just be a good citizen in camp will not be enough over the course of a year. He was a very good player in camp last time, a very good teammate, but being a good teammate in camp may not be enough to stay with us for the whole year. You have to perform at club on a regular basis. The last camp, he got the credit that I was convinced we had to take care of him and nominate him because we'd accelerated his career. It was our responsibility after we called him up last time. So we stuck with that. He's one of the players who benefits from this decision, from sticking with the same squad, but the performances for Arsenal will be a key factor in the next month. He's benefited from the proximity of the camps because the last one was only 3 weeks ago, which I suppose is understandable. You've got to be playing. I do think, though, with Lewis-Skelly, I do think he's still going to get plenty of minutes this season. Calafiori is absolutely warranting his spot at the moment as first choice left back. But Lewis-Skelly was good in midweek. I thought there were really some signs of rust, which was understandable. But he also did a lot of good things. Lewis-Skelly, he looked far less rusty, for example, than Ben White did on the opposite flank, and was heavily involved in a lot of the game. Do you think Lewis-Skelly will be listening to those quotes and be worried about, the World Cup and all that sort of stuff? Does he need to be at 18 years old anyway?
Yeah, I'm with you. There's nothing to worry about per se, because from a club level, like, the minutes will come. We all know. It's probably fair to assume that at some stage an injury will come to Ricardo, and even if it doesn't, there's a lot of games, and I think Arteta's really showing this willingness to rotate heavily at fullback, which sort of discounts what I was saying before about Ben White a little bit. And also, it's not like there is a left back in England right now who is at a high level putting out performances that make you think we've got to get him in the 11. Right now, I would think he is sort of the England left back that's playing at the highest level. Certainly, if we're going to stick with a 4, maybe you'd have like Tyrick Mitchell in the mix, but he plays as wing back. I haven't really got anyone else. Livramento.
He's out for a couple of months now.
He's obviously out for a long time, isn't he? So I think and Spence is probably in a similar role at Spurs. He's not a guaranteed starter when they're at full strength. I think he'll be okay. I think he'll get the minutes, and I think he's very useful for how Tuchel's going to want to play this. He gives such good, strong progression, and is very good defensively. I think he fits really nicely into that squad, and you can already see that sort of four emerging of like James, Gay, probably Stones, and Lewis-Skelly, and I think that ticks a lot of boxes as a backline.
Yeah, I can't believe we've got another international break already.
Oh, I know.
It's mad. It's right in the middle of a really good period of games for Arsenal. I was talking about this on today's show. The next 5 games for Arsenal, when you sort of look at obviously they're still against teams that in the past Arsenal struggled against. I think last season Arsenal's next 3 games now, they got 2 points from a possible 9 from these 3 games, which is West Ham at home, Fulham away, Palace at home. It's 2 points for a possible 9 last season. So they're going to have to improve on that. But when you look at those fixtures and you compare what Liverpool got coming up in the next 5 games, look at what Man City have got coming up in the next 5 games, it feels like a really, really important period for Arsenal to build on the momentum of what's happened in the last week or so, really kick on and see if they can put some real pressure on Liverpool when they've got a really rough run of fixtures. Arsenal go top if they win tomorrow, don't they? Because Liverpool on Sunday at Chelsea.
They're on Saturday, but
5:30, is it?
5:30. I'll be there. Looking forward to it.
Very briefly, Arsenal will go top if they win against West Ham.
And the way Liverpool are playing,
well, back-to-back defeats, isn't it?
Albeit the way Chelsea. I've got to balance that out with the way Chelsea are playing.
Yes, that's true. It's mad how quickly it can all change, though, isn't it? You think everyone, but the talk before last weekend was Liverpool could be 8 points clear, game over by the end of the weekend, and suddenly it was only 2 points, and now potentially Arsenal could go top on Saturday, albeit briefly. But
which is just a reminder that, like, especially for those of us, I know that's not yourself, Charles, but you won't really speak that much about Liverpool but for those of us that sort of have a more general job, it does really help to watch the games, because there was talk of Liverpool could just win the title if Arsenal don't get it right at St James's Park. And you think, well, if you watch Liverpool, do they look like the sort of team that was going to hold on that like 5-game winning run they were on? Were they playing like a team that would go and put up 90 plus points? Because they weren't. And, when they start playing like that, we can talk about, did they get enough daylight at the start of the season? But Jamie Carragher said it brilliantly on CBS. Like, this has been the problem all season long. And right now, especially like what I'm really intrigued about going to Stamford Bridge on Saturday is, like, can they actually play like a Premier League title team plays. Whereas Arsenal, actually mostly been playing that level.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is a really important run of games, I think, for Arsenal. If they can, having come through that difficult fixture list early on in the season, if they can now put a run together where you can put, 4 wins in a row and 5 wins in a row, which I know is really difficult to do in the Premier League at any time, no matter who you're playing against. But if you can do
5 wins in a row, I think the guy, that Man United fan knows how difficult that is.
Honestly, that makes me laugh. I mean, I can't even imagine what he's going to look like by the time they actually do that. But if Arsenal can do it, the pressure they could put Liverpool under in this time when they're not playing that well, it could be really, really important, especially when at the end of those 5 fixtures, they then go to like Stamford Bridge. You've got North London Derby coming up. You've got Christmas coming up. This feels like an important part of the season.
Yeah, what you don't want to do is almost the gap expands in these winnable games. It's and
that happened last season, didn't it? That's what happened last season. In these winnable games, suddenly Liverpool were going further clear, and that can't happen this time.
Yeah, you can drop points against Chelsea. I mean, you shouldn't aim to, and you can't drop points against Tottenham, obviously. But you can drop points against Chelsea and kind of believe that in the other game that they play against your title rivals, Chelsea could do the same. Chelsea could beat Liverpool and beat Arsenal. Still might not win the title, but you know what I mean. But yeah, what you're not going to win the title if you take another 2 points from these next 3 games. You've got to go there and win. And I mean, I think the aim has got to be like, effectively, can Arsenal win every game up to when Tottenham come to town and sort of have a look at where things are. I mean, obviously then win that one as well. But if you're going to win the league, you're going to need to go and like blitz a run of games. And this is a very blitzable run of games.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's go on to a few questions now. Gordon says, hi guys, here's a scenario. Against the Hammers, we're 2-0 up. Max is on as a sub and he's upended in the box. Saka and Gyökeres are still on the park. Who's taking the penalty?
Max. He won it.
Come on.
Gyökeres. Let's assume he's not scored. I think he's playing really well, but just and progressing nicely. But I'd like to see for that to stick more widely and for him to not have to worry about the discourse around him. A couple of goals would be really helpful. I think it'd be great to get a goal this weekend for Gyökeres.
Yes, well, how did VAR not get involved ridiculously at St James's Park last week? Then we would have found out the answer to this, because obviously Saka and Gyökeres were both on the pitch. It was 0-0 at St James's in front of the Gallagher end, and Saka had the ball in his hand as we were waiting for the VAR decision.
Which means
that doesn't mean anything. I think Gyökeres would have taken it at St James's.
I think so too.
I think he's been very unlucky in the last week. I think he's played really well in both games, and had that not been overturned, he would have taken that penalty, and I'm pretty sure he would have scored. And in midweek, it's just the way it's going through in front of goal at the moment. The ball spins off the keeper, hits the post instead of spinning the right way and going in. I think if that one had gone in, I think he probably would have scored at least one more in that game as well. And I feel like, and I said this on the show I did this morning, the FPL show I did this morning with my mate Mark for Patreon members, that I feel like Gyökeres there's going to be a game very, very soon where he helps himself to a hatful. Hopefully it'll be this weekend, because I brought him into my FPL team.
Yeah, I really like that he's quite literally, those Olympiacos defenders can attest, a bit of a flat track bully. I like that, and I think it's important to have that. And Jean-Claire Todibo and whoever at Max Kilman, I hope you've been in the gym this week, Chief.
Yes. So we'll see. Mikel actually said the other day, didn't he? He was asked a question, who's the best penalty taker or something, and he said Gyökeres. I can't remember the exact context of the question, but it was definitely about who was the best penalty taker or something along those lines. And he definitely said Gyökeres, which made me think, I wonder if he's going to be on pens now. I'm sure Bukayo Saka will fight him for it, but I don't know, although I wouldn't want to fight Victor Gyökeres, to be fair. Mr. Morale 96 says, I know it was something that was spoken about when he signed the deal with Gyökeres' aerial ability, but I've seen him win a number of headers when we were defending corners, but up the pitch, he's almost non-existent. What could that be about? I was actually weirdly thinking this. I'd obviously scored a really good goal in pre-season with his head. He's had a couple of other headed chances. He had a couple in the game at Athletic Club in the Champions League, I think, didn't he? That didn't quite go in. But I was watching him against Olympiacos. He takes up the Kai Havertz position, front post, for defending corners, and he won a couple really, really well, really good defensive headers. Do you think there's an issue with him heading wise at the other end?
11% of his aerials he won against Newcastle. I think some of it though is just that, like, when you're defending the front post, the opposition generally don't have their big, strong centre back attacking that space, and they do have it defending the long balls out to him. Like, I'm not worried in that. We knew this coming in, and Arsenal are not really a team where even that, like, the crosses that they score from open play, which are kind of the ones you're going to be thinking about Gyökeres as a target for, they're not hung up to the back stick. Or, I mean, I know there's, like, I'm thinking of the Havertz goal against Brentford. It does happen, but a lot of the time it's more about exploiting how good the delivery of Saka or Ødegaard is, that it effectively lands between the two centre backs and you can't help but miss it. So don't worry, because I think kind of on the deck and in the area, he's looking a lot stronger, and it feels like all that's missing for him is a couple of goals going in. It'd be lovely to have, and I don't really understand why he can't do it, but I also don't think I'll ever get an answer to that.
No. I'm not sure it's the case he can't do it either. I think he can do it. He's shown that he can do it with that goal he scored against.
Yeah.
Was it Athletic Club?
Yeah, it was
the Emirates Cup, wasn't it?
Emirates on the Saturday.
So he can score headers. Hopefully he gets a few. And we've got one finally here from one hypothetical question. Who do you see as the successor of Arteta? Well, he's obviously got 700 games to go to get to 1,000 yet, so it might be it's hard to choose. But please, I am not an Arteta out fan. This is just a light-hearted question to know your thoughts. If some situation arises and you'd want to replace him, how would you pick, or who would you pick to lead from the position Arsenal are in? It's tough, isn't it? Because if the question is directly about who would lead from the position Arsenal are in now, it's like, I love, like, Iraola at Bournemouth, for example. I think it's fantastic, and I think he looks from what I've seen to be potentially tailor-made for a really big club and to do really good things. But is that the kind of guy you want at Arsenal? If Arteta was to go tomorrow, for example, for whatever reason, would he be the person to come on and take on from the position they're in now, or would you want, I don't know, maybe a more experienced guy at the top level to come in and take them from this point, like go and get, not that it will happen, but Luis Enrique out of
That's exactly who I was going to say.
Who's shown a willingness to come to Arsenal in the past, by the way, Luis Enrique. It's something that has appealed to him. I think it would that would be the way I would go to take this squad on from this position. If it was tomorrow, it would be a Luis Enrique, someone who's been there, got his team over the line at Barca, at PSG. He's a really good guy as well.
Yeah,
seems like it from everything that I know. The players love him. I think he would be. And it sounds like an easy answer. Oh, the guy's just won the Champions League. But it does feel like that would be the perfect guy to come on and take over.
Yeah, a couple more names I'd sort of throw into the mix. I'm going to take this. I'm going to start with the assumption that maybe it's at the end of this season and they've not won a trophy. Then I would be talking to Tuchel and I would be talking to Nagelsmann. Like, weirdly, a lot of good coaches are in international football, but I'd be very tempted by Tuchel. Like you, Luis Enrique would be my absolute number one choice. Can I give you a long-term one?
Yes.
This is if Mikel does do the Arsene Wenger. I just think I want someone that really knows the club.
Don't say Cesc Fabregas.
No, why not? It wasn't his fault Arsene Wenger didn't want to sign him. No, I was going to say Granit Xhaka. Wow. I think he's going to be a really good manager. Spoken to him before, and he's really committed on his badges and his coaching. I'd love to chat to him about this. I think that's why he's gone to Sunderland, in part to help be that sort of leader to a young dressing room. And it would be a very nice end to what's been a really interesting story for him to come in and win that league title as an Arsenal manager.
Yeah. I would. I tend to agree that I think he would be a good manager. I think he would. I
wouldn't wind him up.
There's an explosiveness to Granit Xhaka, which makes me kind of wonder what it'll be like in the change room at times. But yeah, Jorginho, obviously,
yeah.
I mean, we've seen it firsthand. Was basically a coach for the final year of his time at Arsenal, pretty much anyway, and has been doing his badges. Mohamed El Neni has been taking his coaching badges as well, of course. So Big Mo come back. But yeah, in answer to Amabit's question, I would probably right now, and I know it's an easy answer, I'd probably say Luis Enrique. I think that he ticks the boxes, but that is just purely hypothetical. Of course, Mikel's going nowhere, and hopefully this season he's going to lead us to the league. He's Arsenal favourites now for the Premier League and the Champions League. Much to Jamie O'Hara's annoyance, I saw 10 seconds of a clip that Sky Sports posted today about Jamie O'Hara was in the studio and he was asked about Arsenal being favourites for the league and the Champions League, and he was pretty much self-combusting with rage. And I had to turn the clip off because I was like, of all the people to ask about that, Jamie O'Hara, I mean, come on, seriously. But anyway, let's not end the show talking about Jamie O'Hara on a sour note. Let's end it talking about West Ham. So quickly, if we're going to do our 11s for tomorrow's game, if right on the spot, I'm going Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Zubamendi, Odegaard, Rice, Saka, Gyökeres, and Eze.
I am going to swap out Gabriel for Mascara, and we've got the same 11.
Okay. Well, I hope you're not right there because I've got Gabriel on my FPL team. So I'm hoping for some points from Big Gabby with West Ham's set piece record. Cheers, mate. I was going to say I'll see you tomorrow, but you're not there, are you? You're at Chelsea. So I shall not see you there, but I'll see you after the international break anyway. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening. I'll be back in the morning to do the usual preview show. So stay tuned for that. And I'll do the ratings and immediate match reaction as well from the press box tomorrow after the game. See you later, mate. Take it easy.
See you soon. Bye-bye.